everyone, and welcome to the morning show right here on Main Street TV, where we have a very fun and interesting show for you today. We do have two special guests in the studio, and then we have a fun video to kind of follow up what we're going to talk about. And you are going to get the straight up tour of the Haslett Mansion in Wellston. Very, very cool. And our guests today are our good friends Don Morgan and his daughter Melissa. And so welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We're super happy to have you here. And I know, Melissa, you've been here before. We had some fun talking about the mansion before and some of the fun events that you've had coming up. Plus, you're of course, is it the principal of superintendent of CLA, and then you have some other hats that you wear as well. So, and we will not keep you all day because we know that you have to get back to your other jobs. As Don here has a wonderful construction company as well, and has to get back to work and building things in the negative 4-degree weather. I know you look forward to that, don't
yes.
you? That has to be challenging.
We don't do too much outside.
I'll bet. Smart. All right, well, let's hear a message from one of our friends, and we will be back to introduce you, if you haven't seen it, to the Haslett Mansion there in Wellston, and this is going to be really, really fun.
Would you like to work closer to home, save money on gas, and be rewarded for your hard work and attendance? Then Bellisio Foods is looking for you. That's right, Bellisio Foods is now hiring for multiple positions and shifts with great employee benefits, an on-site health clinic, competitive wages, and advancement opportunities. Bellisio Foods is a company that truly values their employees. Apply online at bellisiofoods.com.
All right, and we are back with our guests here on the program, and we are going to talk about that beautiful, beautiful restored building in Wellston that so many people, including myself as a little girl, would drive by going into the fairgrounds and think, man, what a cool place. I wish somebody would do something with it. And here you are sitting today after you took on that project. So could you maybe introduce yourselves to our viewers, and then tell us how this whole project came to be.
I'm Don Morgan. This is my daughter, Melissa.
Yes.
The house, at that time, I was building a couple of new buildings at the fairgrounds over there, and I was going to buy it every day. They had a for sale sign up on it, but you could barely see the house or the barn for the trees and the vines. It was totally covered in.
It had been a long time since anybody had shown it any love.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the guy out of Portsmouth had it. The city, I think, was onto him about, the barn was really in bad shape, ready to fall in. So they were onto him. He had to do something. And he put it up for sale. So we called him, and he said, yeah, just go over and look at it. Just go up there on the front porch, crawl through the windows. There was no windows in the house. The house has 64 windows in it. They broke every window out. They firebombed the front door, burned it off the front porch. All the overhangs, they got up in them and tore all them out. And it was just kind of hanging in shambles. Looked like a bomb went off in it, inside and out. Trash was a foot deep, mattresses laying everywhere.
So I'm assuming that people had kind of broken in to live in it, or
A lot of the druggies and stuff had lived in it and been
Yeah.
squatting there on it. We took a tour of it, and I thought, this more than I want to do.
You know, and as a construction guy, for somebody to say, as experienced as you are, I don't know if I want to take on this project. That's saying something.
We ended up, it went on 2 or 3 months, and the guy called me back, and we got to talking, and I told him a little bit what he was asking, more than I wanted. So he said, just make me an offer. And my wife
Please
was
just take it.
all into this. She wanted us to get it, so we made an offer, and she took it. Oh, God.
Darn it, he took it.
But the more I looked at it, all the damage that they'd done, if you're going to restore it, had to be tore out and redone. They'd stole all the electric, all the interior doors, all the fireplaces, all the glass, stained glass, most of that. But there was still, the bones were there, and the house was very level. So,
they kind of did you a favor. They demoed it for you.
A little bit. That's kind of what I thought. It made it really easy to rewire
Yeah.
with that, because I didn't have to worry about the walls. There's already beat out there anyway. So actually, once we started, it wasn't near as bad as we thought. Just
Sure.
the cleanup was the biggest chore.
Yeah.
The house has 4 floors in it, and about 8,000 square feet. And the barn has 4 floors. It's about 7,000 square feet, and they were all just full of trash. The barn did the same thing there. They broke every window out in the barn. It had 44 windows. So there's 104 windows they broke out, something like that.
I mean, that's almost like a personal challenge to do that. So, Melissa, when your parents said, hey, we have this idea, what do you think? What did you say?
Oh, I thought they were totally crazy.
I mean, I still think they're crazy, and it's done. So
Yeah, I mean, I did not go in early on. I went in when they were several months into cleaning it, and I still thought they were crazy. 'Cause I was like, this is horrible. There's no way I just couldn't see it. But my dad just kept saying, I see what it's going to be. You just wait and see. It's going to be great. And
I believe
it
that.
is.
Yes.
But it was a lot of work on his part.
So did you all know about, the history and, all of the people involved and whatever when you bought the house? Or is that something that you had to research? Because this home has a lot of history.
We didn't know anything about the house. We actually
Oh.
didn't even know the year it was built until last year.
Wow.
There was literally nothing in the house, not even a scrap of paper or anything. And I had spoken to Robert Irvin, our Jackson County historian, and he had
The Jackson County historian.
Jackson County historian about him. He had in his red Jackson County history book, I believe it was a page or a page and a half, about the man who built the house and a picture of the house. And that's Charles Haslett. So when I talked to Bob, he gave me kind of like a lead of a name and kind of a year, but he wasn't sure of the year. So I just started on the internet reading through as many like internet newspaper stories as I could find. That's Charles Haslett, that picture.
Okay.
And
who suffered not the best fate, by the
No,
way, but
no,
we
he
can
did not.
we can talk about that.
But through reading like 100 years of Jackson County, mostly Wellston Telegram newspapers, last year I finally found the year. So it was built in 1908.
Okay.
It was on the front page of the Wellston Telegram that they had started the house, and it was their estimate was going to be an $8,000 home at that time, which would include the house, a tunnel that connected the house to the carriage house barn to the milking parlor. And
So cool.
yeah, and the family moved in the week of Christmas, 1909.
Very, very cool. Now, when you bought the home, did you know that there was like the underground tunnel to the barn and all of this like cool history and stuff?
I know there was talk, everyone said there was one, and that's partly why I wanted to see it. But when we bought it, it was blocked off on both ends, so you couldn't get into the tunnel. The one end was blocked off a block because it had so many people breaking into it. The other end, they
And it was
tore.
full of trash.
The
There's
other end was
tunnel.
full of trash.
And you have to be a little bit concerned about the safety of it.
It is actually in excellent shape, the tunnel is, all the way down.
Is it concrete or what's it built out of?
It's made out of brick and concrete, got an arch top. It's really in excellent shape.
Brilliant.
It really is perfect shape all the way
16-inch
down.
thick brick.
We should all be so so smart as to build a tunnel from our homes to the barn. Why doesn't everyone else think of that?
Part of that was part of his dairy operation, though.
Sure.
He actually started the first sanitary dairy in the state of Ohio. Back then, everyone milked in sheds and stuff, and the milk getting contaminated was a big problem.
Oh, yes.
He set this up. He built a silo to fill with water, and he could hose it down every day, and he concreted and plastered all of it. But the milk, they could process it, or milk in the barns, and they milked it into metal cans, and they set it in the tunnel. There was 2 underground rooms that would flood them with water and set the cans down in it and put blocks of ice from the ice house and cool it. Then they'd take it on up into the basement of the house where they processed it, as far as separating the butter and the cream, and then bottling it every day, and then
Oh, my gosh.
peddling it around to all the people's houses.
Sure. The
Every day.
milkman.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, and you and I were talking about this off the air of, my ancestors and my dad grew up on a dairy farm there where Carmen's lot sits today, which you built, by the way, I think. And Yeah, I remember my Uncle Lewis was the milkman. Like, there was a milkman, and you went out and you delivered the milk.
Yeah, they
Pretty
delivered
cool.
it door to door. It was a pretty major operation at that time
I'll bet.
on it there, and pretty high class, what he did do. The basement of the house was, actually, there's an old guy that stopped and talked to us, and we talked a little bit how they could afford to run that place. And he said it really wasn't much different than the plantations back in the day, because the people lived there on the farm in little houses, and actually the biggest room in the basement was, they served them dinner, fed them room and board every day.
Oh, okay. So the people
they had
that
a
worked
maid there
there.
that cooked all the food in the basement, and even for the people in the house, she sent it up a dumbwaiter to the butler's quarters and
What
stuff.
an
at the time.
interesting, life. That's interesting.
It's very interesting to listen to him talk there. And he was born in the third floor of that barn. It's where the guy was
He
born
was
at.
born in a barn?
Yeah, the third floor was actually, they made it into a living quarters for a caretaker, and he was born up there on the third floor of that barn.
That is wild. Oh my gosh. So you lost your mind and bought this home and barn, and had to clean it all up and whatever. But then once you get it all cleaned up, you've got to go in and restore this thing. How did you know? Did you try to take it back to its original character, or how did you know what to do with it?
A lot of it I really did. The house, they hadn't really done anything to it hardly since it had been built, but they didn't. The original owners and the people that lived there until they rented it had not tore up anything. The walls had only had one or two coats of paint on them in the lifetime.
Really?
All the wood floors and the trim only had one coat of varnish on it. So, once I got into it, it wasn't so hard to resend it. And you could see the original colors. In fact, that's when Melissa come up to see it, I'd done a lot of the drywall work. I re-drywalled it all, and I painted the hallway. It was original green. I could see on the colors, and I just picked that paint out and painted it, and I thought I better show that to my wife and see if she hadn't
sure
seen
that
it
she
either.
approves,
When
huh?
Melissa showed up, and we went up to see that one, and that's how Melissa took a couple pictures of it and put it on Facebook, and that's when it went crazy.
Oh, yes.
All the rest of everyone wanted her to follow it and make a web page of it.
Absolutely, which you have, and thank you for that, because I think it's been such a cool, public interest story. And there it is, as you were certainly doing a lot of work on this home. So what are you all, and we do have a really cool video that we're going to show you here in just a second, but what are you all doing with the home? What do you hope it will be? Or what do you want it to be?
Right now, it's just a hobby for our family.
Okay.
And my dad and I, it's just, we enjoy working on that together.
Love that.
I don't really know. I mean, we've done weddings the last couple years and rented
Almost
it
like an event space.
It's a venue space right now. Parties, class reunions, and then my kids are in the military and they live across the country, sometimes on the other sides of the world. And when they come home, we all go up there and we stay. And
How
we
fun.
just did that for Christmas, so we were there for 2 weeks and we just stayed in the house, and that was our house, and they all got to be together again. Them and all their dogs and cats they brought and everything.
All the critters.
Yeah, but
Is that a wedding? Oh, how
that's
beautiful.
our very first wedding, and those two kids, I had them in high school at CLA, and they wanted to get married there, and they wanted to recreate the 1915 wedding of Mr. Haslett's daughter Chaunce's when she was married on the front porch.
Okay, that's cool.
Because that was the largest wedding in America in 1915. There were 8,000 people there. So,
What?
Yes.
Wow.
So she wanted to recreate that. So I thought that was a beautiful picture. And that's the Haslett family on the front porch in 1915.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Look at how classy,
Yes.
how fun. Now, where did Mr. Haslett make his money? Was it all in dairy farming, or did he start out doing something and
I
then...
don't know everywhere he made his money, because he wrote an autobiography and published it in the Jackson Standard newspaper in the 1880s. He was running for public office, and he said that he went out west for 2 years and made a fortune, but the family doesn't know what he did, and he never said what he did.
We're not going to... How about sometimes blissful ignorance is good?
So I don't know, because when he came back, he had cash and he bought that property.
Yes.
He already owned 1,200-acre farm in Colton, but he bought this one too, and he ran it just as a farm for almost 10 years before they actually moved there. So, but I mean, he always had businesses going. He was in public office for 40 years, and he had a racetrack, like the harness racetrack at the fairgrounds. He built that in 1900.
And fun fact that our fairgrounds sit on land that he donated.
Yes, he established the Jackson County Fairgrounds there in about 1911.
Which, if anyone wants to know, like, why is it there? Well, that's why it's there.
Because of the Haslett family.
Yeah, for sure.
He had many businesses. He had a dance hall in Colton. He had a dancing bear that you could pay to dance with at the dances. He had 4 coal mines. I think he owned 2 railroads. So he always had multiple businesses going.
Gotcha.
He was a very good businessman.
Yep. And then, unfortunately, and we do want to get to the video, he became ill, correct? And took his own life.
He did. In 1939, the newspaper said he was bedfast for 3 months, and he did not. It was like a mystery illness. And then he found out he had cancer of the retina of the eye, which I thought was unusual.
Oh.
And it had spread. And his death certificate says he committed suicide, but also he had dementia. But whatever happened, he went over. There's a second floor porch on the upstairs of the house, and he threw himself off of that in 1939, and he ended his life there. Yeah.
So have you seen any ghosts?
Well, we have, yes.
I mean, I can't imagine that you haven't.
We call it the Shadow Man, so we've seen the Shadow Man a couple times. My brother has seen it on the stairs. Just looks like a shadow of a man, no face. I saw it last December on the stairs. We've had people come in and do pictures, and then in the background, they're like, "What's that shadowy man behind me?" So, yeah, it's been a little odd.
I'm telling you, it's a thing. I believe wholeheartedly that there's a thing, that there's something to all of that. But I think this is just so fascinating what you all have done. And, Dawn, I think taking your knowledge and your experience over the years, and of course your hard-earned money, because God knows that's not cheap, and restoring back to a beautiful, beautiful place that people can enjoy. I can't thank you enough for that. As far as the community goes, because I know. As I said, as a little girl going to the fair every year and to the fairgrounds, I'd always think to myself, I wish somebody would do something with that place.
I was pretty amazed with the structure and the workmanship. I appreciate what they done as far as their stonework and carpentry work on it. And
you would like that stuff. The rest of us like all the other stuff.
Actually, this is what me and my crew do on days like this. When it's this cold, we got somewhere inside to go.
Yes, absolutely. So, all right. Well, we do have a video to play. Is there anything else you would like to tell our viewers before we let you get back to work? Because both of you have to get back to your real jobs.
No, just that when Dad bought it and we started into like the restoration and then started finding the history, we just never really thought it would become like this, where like the community would like to come in, and we give so many tours. I mean, we can't even count how many tours we've given, and it's really fun because how many other old homes do you get to go in? You get to sit on the furniture. It's all been people bringing that to us, saying this was my grandma's, and she would love if someone would still sit on it.
Sure.
So we always tell
all those
people,
memories.
yeah,
in there.
come in and sit on the old furniture, and people really like that. It feels like we want you to feel like you're coming home, even to like grandma's house when you come to the Haslett house, and to be able to go in a house and go down in the basement and go through a tunnel, and in the winter there's a bat that hangs in the tunnel hibernating, and people have never seen a bat close up. So it's just really an interesting, fun place to come up and go through, and to feel like it's your house for a while, and just a really fun tour to take and fun to come up and have a party there. And we really enjoy it. It's been a fun project for my dad and I.
I'll bet it has been, and a great way to bond as well.
Yeah.
So if people want more information, I know that you have literally kind of got voluntold to start this website and the Facebook and all that because so many people were interested in it that you had to do something.
Yep.
So how do they find information?
Most people just go to our Facebook page. It's Haslett Restoration.
Okay.
And if you send us a message through there, we'll respond back. And if you want to do like a party, you can email me. It's inbox. I usually do my school email, but inbox at gswclajackson.org, and I do all the scheduling for that. But if also you can just contact us through the Facebook page.
Well, very good. Well, Dawn, thank you for hanging out with us this morning, and
Thank you.
Melissa. And this thing is just fascinating. So we do have a really, really cool video, I think hosted by you, maybe.
Probably.
And so let's have another message, and then we'll be right back with the video.
At Vinton County National Bank, we believe in supporting the areas where we live and work. Now, we'd like to honor those who also serve our communities. Our new Community Champions account is especially for first responders, veterans, active military, and anyone employed in the fields of healthcare or education. This account offers rewards, discounts, and other benefits to those who give so much to others. Vinton County National Bank, rewarding those who serve.
Haslett Mansion, located in Wellston, Ohio, just about 1,000 feet from the Jackson County Fairgrounds. It has stood here for nearly 112 years. Telegram multimedia journalist Jeremiah Shaver has been lucky enough to have an inside look on this house.
Hi, my name is Melissa Boggs, and we're here at the Haslett Mansion and Carriage House in Wellston, and just wanted to share some of the story of how my family acquired this place and the history of this house and how it relates to Wellston. So in 2019, my dad, Don Morgan, bought this house. It was kind of in a sheriff's sale, and it had been abandoned for a long time. So he purchased it. At that time, he had to replace 66 windows. They'd all been stolen from it. All the doors were gone, all of the wiring, all the lights. It was pretty much just a shell of a house. It had been kind of a drug house, and a lot of people hanging out here that weren't supposed to be. The upstairs was full of pigeons, it was full of raccoons, and so for about 2 years they spent cleaning it out and began the process of restoring it. So still not done, but we've been giving a lot of tours to people. So just want to tell you about the Haslett family. So in this picture is the Haslett family. This was built by Charles Haslett and his wife Mary. They actually bought the property here in 1900, and it became their second farm. They had a 1,200-acre farm in Colton, and Mr. Haslett was the mayor of Colton. And he was pretty wealthy. When he bought the property here, he also built a harness racetrack, which is still located at the present Jackson County Fairgrounds. So he started off here with sheep. He had about 1,000 sheep here, and he realized sheep are hard to keep alive if you don't live there with them, because he came back one day and they'd all been killed by wild dogs. So then he went on to registered hogs, which did pretty well, but he settled on registered Jersey cows, and this became the largest Jersey dairy farm in Ohio by 1915. So here on the porch of the Haslett house, we always start our tours here because in this picture is where the entire family is standing. And in 1915, Mr. Haslett was running for political office again. He had a daughter that wanted to get married, and he had just built a brand new 3-story cattle barn with a tunnel, and he decided he would just do this all on the same day. He'd have 1,000 people here for the wedding or more. So the wedding was here on the porch. Out in the front yard were 1,000 guests, and it began with the governor of Ohio giving a speech, and then the Secretary of Agriculture giving a speech, and then Mr. Haslett giving a speech. And if anyone was still awake by then, it was time for the wedding. So his daughter Chaunces and John Earl Chrisman were married here on the porch, and they had 1,000 guests sitting out in the front yard, and after they said their vows, they turned around and walked in the front door, and all 1,000 guests followed them in. They went to the basement, where they went through the first tunnel, and then they went through the second tunnel, and they came out in the new barn, which had never had an animal in it. Mr. Haslett had musicians on the 3rd floor playing music. When everyone came out of the tunnel, there Mr. Haslett was to give another political speech. And he had ice cream, lemonade, and cake, and he told them, have a great time. You can stay all night and dance and eat, but I am going back in the house because I've got to go to bed and get up and milk these cows in the morning. So by the end of the night, the Wellston Telegram says there were 8,000 people here for this party. So it was such an important wedding. It was called the Wedding of the Century. It was even covered in the New York Times. The New York Times actually printed it at the time it happened in 1915 and reprinted the story in 1918 because it was printed in every state in America. It was the largest wedding in the U.S. at that time, here in Wellston, so who would have known? So the Hasletts actually built this house in 1908. They built the house, the carriage house, and the tunnel for a fee of $8,000. That was a lot of money at that time. Today, to rebuild everything would be about $3 million. So it would probably, you understand why these older houses are not being restored. A lot of them are being torn down. So the family lived here until the 1940s. Mr. Haslett actually ended his life here in 1939. He jumped off the upper floor porch, and at that time, the farm passed into the hands of his daughter, Tulin, who kept it through pretty much the beginning of World War II, and then they sold the farm. They just could not find men to work during that time. And it passed into the hands of the Wright family, who made Driving Park Dairy, and then into the hands of the Haggerty family, and then a few others after that. But my dad took about 2 years to restore it, and we love opening it up to the community and doing tours, telling ghost stories here in the house, taking kids through the house, being able to take people through the tunnel. It's really fun, and we love being able to share the history of our community. The original door.
Right.
The front door was here, but someone had set it on fire.
Oh.
But the walls here are 16-inch thick brick,
Ooh.
so they couldn't burn the house down from
Yeah.
the outside. So my dad, when he bought it, the front door was burned, and the back door, there was half of a door. So you literally just could crawl in anywhere and get in the house. So, a lot of people have come in and explored. So this is the first thing he did. He put a door on with a lock, but there were no windows. So he could lock the front door, but you could still crawl in. And these used to be pocket doors, like behind you and here and in the next room. But they were 8 feet tall, and they would slide into the walls, but they were stolen. So people came in and actually took chainsaws along the top of the walls and cut all the hardware out. So Dad decided not to replace those because they're custom. And so he just made these open. But, in the day of the Hasletts, you would have had all these rooms shut, helped you keep your heat in and stuff. So this is the big parlor, which would have just been for guests. The parlor behind you, this was actually Mr. Haslett's office. This was the farm office for a long time. And all the furniture here has just been given to us by people that it was like their grandparents' furniture, great-grandparents, and they said, our kids don't want it. It doesn't mean anything to them, we don't want to take it to Goodwill, but we want it here. And the thing that everyone that's given us furniture has said, please tell people to sit on it. Our grandma would like that. Mm-hmm. So we always tell you, have a seat. We want you to feel comfortable. And then on the mantles, we've just tried to decorate. There's like before pictures, and then this room we did old pictures of Wellston. So at the time the Hasletts were here, Wellston was a very prosperous town. So like this is the casino that was on the island at Lake Elma.
Yeah, I've seen that one.
This is the Opera House, which is now Daisy's Coffee Shop, and this is the depot. These are our 3 hotels that were in Wellston. The fire station. And then this is the hospital, which is, the building's still there.
Across from the library.
Yes,
Yeah.
downtown Wellston here. Of course, this is the before picture. So the last thing we didn't realize the floors were so beautiful because they were under so much trash. But when Dad only sanded these one time.
What is this pattern called?
This is called picture frame.
Picture frame.
Mm-hmm. So there was a house behind Carmen's used cars that was being torn down, and it was built about 1914, so really similar. So Dad went and bought all their interior doors, which we have in here now. Same wood. Here's the odd thing. Same hardware, same hinges. They even had the original screws, and they all matched up to our door frames.
That's cool.
Perfectly, which was really neat.
I'm surprised somebody didn't steal this.
I know.
This, if it's oak, you know.
Yeah. And there were big, these are not original, so even the mantles were stolen. These are ones that my parents have like found from houses being torn down or people gave them. The original mantles were a really big like green marble grates that came out, and then so these aren't original tiles either. But anything people could kind of pull up, they did. But during the restoration here, we tried to find where everything was from.
Mm-hmm.
So this was kind of a neat thing God found. When he was restoring the trim, he found original lumber tags. So this is the H.G. Kaufman Company in Washington Courthouse. It's still open. It's a mail order catalog or company where you can custom order your stairs and your woodwork.
That's cool.
This is before for this room, these two pictures.
Rest in peace, Ben.
Yeah, whoever Ben was. Yeah. So we know that the wood all came from Washington Courthouse. The block all came from Logan Block or Puritan Block, which is in Hamden.
Mm-hmm.
The tiles on the front porch we think are from Lancaster because Mrs. Haslett, her family lived there. So these are just things from when it was Driving Park Farm. So this is Mr. Haslett, C.W. Haslett Dairy, which was the original milk bottle. And then it became Driving Park Farm, so you can see them here. And these were the paper caps that were on top of the milk bottles. And it was Jersey cows, so that's why we have pictures of that. This was the public sale ad that was in every newspaper in Ohio when they sold the farm in 1944. And these are bottles.
Oh.
Now this one has a neat story, the big quart bottle, because my family also owned my grandmother's dairy in Wellston. It was called the Grant Dairy, and they actually would bring their milk here and have it processed. So they were selling that dairy this summer, and my dad was cleaning out a building with a dirt floor there on that farm, and he felt a bottle down in the ground, and he dug it up, and it was from here. And
Wow.
This is bottle.
How funny is that?
I know, it was so
It's like
strange.
full circle.
It was completely full of mud, and
Yeah.
so there's still some mud in it. We couldn't get out, but I was like, that is so interesting.
It is.
That you owned both, and you found that bottle at your other dairy, and now it's here back at this dairy.
Yeah, that is a neat story.
This is the original dining room, and these are just pictures of the family. So they had 4 daughters, so this is their pictures. And up on that mantle are pictures of the farm over the years.
Is there anything, I know you said the floor is original, is there anything else that was able to be kept?
No.
No,
No, this house was just a shell.
just gutted. Yeah,
it was-
people.
I mean,
I've heard stories of people coming in and like hanging out and stuff.
All the woodwork is original. So that all like the trim,
Right.
the stairs,
The floors.
all that, the floors are original. But like this room you're looking at, we made it a kitchen. That was a butler's pantry, and where the microwave is was a door you would walk through into the real kitchen.
Okay.
But it was in really bad shape. So, this was Mr. Haslett's favorite spot. Everything he could see was the farm, Driving Park Farm. It was 800 acres. And he had over 150 registered cattle here. I mean, today they would be like $25,000 a piece.
Oh my.
So it was a big deal. And
Yes.
Oh yeah. In 1917, he had to put the entire herd down because they had tuberculosis. So that is like a $3 million loss today. But he rebuilt it all in a year and a half. So he was very, very interesting man. But the tunnel we'll go in, if you want to go through it, is under that sidewalk. And it comes out over there. And then the maid's house was kind of over here. And then there was a 3-story cow barn that he built that was that way. And that's where the big wedding was in 1915. Oh, so when this was built, this was for grain storage. So you kind of feel the floors a little tilted because there was a drainage pipe in the middle, and it would drain all the moisture off of like grain down to the cows. So in the 40s, it became an apartment. And then when Dad started restoring it, he decided to cut out the middle of the floor here so you could see the roofing structure. That's actually the hay loft.
Wow.
And you can open these.
Did you say how tall, like how many stories this house is?
It's 4 floors.
Four
basement,
floors.
And then the three floors above it. And this is 4 floors.
So 4 stories each.
Yes.
Okay.
They're actually the same design. And then the maid's house was a miniature of it. There's one more floor if you want to go up.
Okay. The so was the maid's house just tore down at some
It
point?
was torn down, I think in the 90s. They tore down the maid's house and the 3-story cow barn.
So this was the hay loft.
There's a hay chute right back here, this hole, and it went all the way to the basement.
Oh, that's convenient.
Yes, the hay would be up here loose, you just scoop it over.
Saturday, August 16th is Southern Rock Woodstock and the Gallipolis Fairgrounds. This event will feature 3 decades of original artists and legends, such as Leonard Skinner, 38 Special, and Molly Hatchet. In light of this event, Total Media will be giving away 4 VIP tickets. For a chance to win these exclusive passes, comment your favorite Southern Rock song, and our staff will vote on which one is the best. Good luck, and may the best man rock out.
All right, and we are back. We hope that you enjoyed our visit to the Haslett Mansion. Have you been there in person?
I have been there several times,
I have
and
not.
I am wowed and I am charmed by the Haslett Mansion. And if you haven't been there, I mean, you really need to see it. There's different opportunities to do it, as I'm sure was told here by the Morgans. They're very open with that. They want to
Yes,
share it.
they do.
They make it available through events. They host things on their own. It's just that contribution to the community is
Really cool.
fantastic.
Yes,
it is fantastic.
It absolutely is, and I can't wait to get to see it in person. So how are you doing this morning, Pete? I see that you have even put a sweater on, which means it's real cold outside.
Right. Well, see, I went the last 3 days. I went through the available flannel shirts, so we've improvised a little bit. But there's a reason when it's -6, sweaters, flannel shirts,
Correct.
3 or 4 shirts, whichever,
Yes.
however you want to go.
It's a lot.
No.
Or a little of
And-
warmth.
Absolutely. And of course, that is at the top of the news right now.
Yes.
So we're going to tell you the very latest, that we've dug up and what has happened that's kind of related, I think, to the weather. First of all, don't know what the actual official low temperature was, but I did see myself -6
Okay.
myself.
I
all
saw
right?
driving
Somebody
in
told me
-4, but
Somebody told me -7. There was a -7 that was posted or something. But anyway, pretty daggone cold.
It's
all right.
cold.
Exactly. But we did have some power outages. Remember, we were worried about that being
of course.
being a consequence, or if it's not a consequence, it being a very unfortunate fallout that
Yes.
occurs, when the temperatures are the way they are. But this morning, we had a lot of folks in the city of Jackson that were out. Thankfully, it was only for a short time. It happened about 5:10 a.m., and the city electric crews had everybody back on, as far as I've been able to determine, around 6:30.
Okay.
So, but even that period,
Boy, that can
dark,
fall
and
quick.
if you've got the electric, all your electric, you count on electric so much, and of course, if you have electric heat,
Mm-hmm.
that really makes it real serious. Don't know exactly what the cause of that was. I guess it doesn't matter now. But in the northwest area of town, over on Parkview Avenue towards Westview School, downtown was even
Yes,
out.
it was.
East Broadway Street, all those areas were out. I'm on the west end of town. My power was on. It was on here here at the Total Media office. And so, it's often scattered, but a lot of people were affected by this one. But thankfully, and remember the city crews out there in that weather.
Yes. Oh, man.
Have to figure out where it is, what to do,
Thank you.
and then do it as quickly as possible. Yes, thank you. There are some other power outages that, as of my last check, were affecting Vinton County in particular. 227 customers out. Most of them are in a pocket southeast. Yes, it would be southeast of Dundas, maybe along State Route 324. About 222 or 221 there, and there's 5 others that are near there as well. In Jackson County, and this was new, 5 outages there, 5 customer outages, and that is just to the west of Jackson, south of US 35, north of Beaver Pike, if you can figure out where that is geographically, but not too far from Jackson and not very many right now. Buckeye Rural serves all those customers in Jackson and Vinton counties and 6 other counties as well in southeastern Ohio. Right now, no outages. So that's very important there.
I will say, first thing out of my mouth this morning is thank you, Buckeye Rural, for keeping our power on.
Well, Buckeye Rural, speaking of Buckeye Rural, they issued, this was on their Facebook, they issued a load control notice. And what that means is they can only do so much. They count on their customers to help them. Just as when it's very hot, there is a load on the
when
grid.
It's super hot.
There's a load on the grid when it's extremely cold too, because people are using, they're inside, they're using their appliances, auxiliary heat that uses electricity. So what they're asking you to do, and it will make a huge difference if everybody complies. They want you during this period, and I'll let you know when it's over. They want you to not use large appliances like washers, dryers, and dishwashers. Usually you can put that kind of thing off. They want you to turn your thermostat down a few degrees, and they want you to unplug or switch off any unnecessary electronics and lights. So, if you go around, you do a little survey, and you avoid those things or you do those things,
any little bit helps.
Times 5,000, that is a huge lift off the stress of the electric grid.
Help them help us.
Right, we all share that. Warming centers, they can become very important. Maybe they are right now. We already told you about the Life Source Apostolic Church at 133 Driving Park Road in Wellston. There, as you go into the fairgrounds, that is open on an overnight basis, 9 p.m. to 9 a.m. The MacArthur Fireman's Hall at 303 West High Street in MacArthur, that could certainly be very relevant now because of the power outages near Dundas. That's only a few miles from Dundas. It is open on a 24-hour basis, and they're going to go until at least 9 a.m. tomorrow morning when, it's supposed to get a little better. They've not decided to close the shelter then, but they're going to go to then and make a decision. A couple others that have come to our attention where you can go to stay warm, the Jackson Family Activity Center, the former YMCA, they have been a warming center before, and they will continue to do it during business hours. Not after business hours, but during business hours. There's a place to go. In Oak Hill, the Liberty Baptist Church, which is at 322 Bingham Street. That's not too far from the elementary school. It has a gymnasium behind their church. It has opened up its gymnasium as a warming center for at least the next couple days. If there's nobody there because it's not been needed yet, you just have to contact Pastor Jeremy Van Dyne. His number is 740-851-0667. Once again, 740-851-0667. He will make sure that you have a place to come, open it up for you, and help you as much as he and other volunteers can. And that information, by the way, is all posted in a website/Facebook story that we have that we put out this morning. So you can check on that. All right. Another thing that happens, and we warned about this, when it gets very cold, there can be fires, house fires. Yes. Because people are using a lot of electric appliances, space heaters, putting more stress on their electricity output. Of course, wood fires and fireplaces, etc. It's exponential. The chances of a fire become greater. Well, we've had some. I don't even know how many, but there's been several since last night, and there is one in particular that I want to tell you about that we've got the details on. This happened. This is a very neat story. Interim Fire Chief Kyle Hickey of the Jackson Fire Department called it a fortunate ending to an unfortunate situation. What happened was at 4:40 a.m., and this was so fortuitous and lucky for this family where this fire occurred. A Spectrum worker or a worker for Spectrum, don't know whether he's an employee or a contractor, but he was out in a bucket truck at 4:40 a.m. this morning.
Oh my gosh.
On Grimes Street in Jackson. That is back there off East Main Street, where there's the Walnut Hills Veterinary Clinic and Slarks, and that's where Grimes Street is. Well, anyway, he was working in a bucket truck and he noticed fire on the outside of a house at 10 Grimes Street. That's the home of Hayden Brown, who is the village haircutter's barber, who's very involved in the community, and son of
Jason and Shelley.
Of Jason Brown there, very well-known residents and business people. Anyway, 4:40 a.m., this Spectrum worker called the fire department and also awakened Hayden, another occupant in the house. There's a dog in there too, and they all got out safely. Fire department came. They had help from Wellston Fire Department, help from Liberty Township Volunteer Fire Department. They were able to limit the fire to the exterior of the house where it had started. It did not get inside. It did not cause a ton of damage, no damage inside, limited damage outside. Kyle Hickey told me that if the Spectrum worker wouldn't have seen that, and they were asleep inside, we presume, it could have been a lot worse and even tragic.
Wow.
So, a silver lining in that cloud there. Unfortunately, there was also a major fire structure. Don't know the details on this. We're tracking it down. It was at 739 Zane Oak Road. That is a county road that is north of Oak Hill, but that was a major structure fire. There was another structure fire in Wellston last night at 609 South Pennsylvania Avenue. We have heard indirectly that did not turn out to be as serious, but nonetheless, it was a structure fire. Now, all these firefighters are out in sub-zero temperatures.
Yes, they are.
And here's the problem. Not only is it uncomfortable, but things don't work.
Right.
I heard that
water freezes.
I heard at the Zane Oak Road fire, they could not get up the lane because of the snow and the ice, and they had to hand carry the hose many feet to get up there to fight the house. I'm sure it delayed what they could do, limited what they could do, and it made a hell of a lot harder on what they had to do. Yes, it would. So, we think of those people that have to be outside, responding to these emergencies.
Yes. Again, thank you to our first responders, all of you, for what you do.
Right. Okay. And this is kind of like a sidebar story, not a tragic thing, but just something we need to let you know. And we're doing it on our different media platforms. On the third Friday of each month, the Faith Lutheran Church of Jackson does a toiletries giveaway. Mm-hmm. All right. It is very popular and obviously much needed.
Sure.
Judging by the lines that are there on that third Friday. They have decided to postpone it for this Friday because the weather is so cold. Mm-hmm. They don't want their people out, don't want other people out when they don't have to be. They are going to reschedule it. Also, the lot there is still treacherous, snow and ice and all like that. And, they thought it was a good idea just to back this up. They are going to announce when they're going to do it again. I think they're going to try to do it before it comes around the next month, but that has not been announced yet. All right. Another fire that we want to tell you about. I think we mentioned that there was a fire and we didn't know the details, but this happened on Sunday night on Limerick Road in Liberty Township. So go west of Jackson on the Beaver Pike, turn on the Limerick Road. And it's not too far off the Beaver Pike, But this was the home of a fellow that a lot of us know, Brian Jarvis,
Yes.
who is Apple City Motorcycle
Yes.
Club. What a giver he is
Yes,
in the
he is.
community. He's been the president of the motorcycle club. Unfortunately, from what I understand, he was not home when this fire occurred. It was considered a total loss out there. That occurred at 6:53 p.m. on Sunday evening. The Liberty Township Fire Department was there. They had help from the Colton Fire Department, the Jackson Fire Department, the Scioto Township Fire Department, EMS, and the Sheriff's Office was there as well. No one at home of the fire. There were 2 animals in the house. This was one thing that was good. They were able to get the animals out, but unfortunately, the structure and the contents considered a total loss. The cause of the fire is undetermined. It is being investigated by the state fire marshal. So very, very unfortunate.
Yes.
Just, I don't know what advice to give, but, if you're inside, try to be careful with your electric appliances or, if you have an open fire, because it's just so dangerous right now. And then the situation becomes even more difficult because it's difficult for the firefighters
Sure.
to fight the fire with,
Yeah,
water
absolutely.
freezing up and equipment not working and their fire trucks and like that, and their equipment are subject to having problems because of what, just
Absolutely.
like ours are. You got to
Yes.
remember that. All right. The other thing that I want to talk about, I've been trying to do this for a while, but we just had some kind of breaking news or more important news we had to tell you. But this was a nice story that I want to tell you. It was about the reunion of the 1974-75 Jackson Ironmen basketball team. They came back on Saturday evening, January 4th. A lot of them came back. All of them weren't able to come back for different reasons, obligations and so forth. But this was one of the more memorable teams in Jackson high school history. They did not win a league championship, but they were a bunch of overachievers, did not have a lot of size. They were predicted to finish next to last in the old SEOAL. And all they did was they ended up in second place. And once they got on the tournament, they won 3 games to make it to the district tournament.
So cool.
And these guys, Al Berger, I think, Jimmy, we got some pictures there if you have found them on one of the leftover files. Al Berger, the late Al Berger, was the
Mr.
coach, and so
Berger.
many people knew Al. Here is one of the most famous sports pictures in Jackson high school history. I was there, but I see this picture pop up every now and then. That is the members of the team. Back then, you see assistant coach Steve Walburn, who, of course, is still around,
Yep.
retired now from teaching and coaching, and you see Al Berger with his arm around him
Yep.
there on the left. Then you have the players, and some of them are kneeling, a couple are standing, but you see them, they're in a defensive stance. That team was known for its defense. They put pressure on you all the time, and they were
So
able to
cool.
create turnover steals. They got into your head with their defense, and they were able to win a lot of close games. Now, that's the picture from 1975. We've got the picture from 2005, 50 years later at the ball game. You got that one, Jimmy? It should be right by this one, that one there.
They actually, Pete, came in for lunch at
I knew they were
the
there,
tap
too.
room, and it was so cool to get to hang with the guys and kind of reminisce a little bit with them as they were able to have that little reunion. And obviously we fed them, and
Okay.
it was fun.
Well, I'll give you some names of the folks who were there. Turn my page here. We had, of course, assistant coach Steve Walburn. He came back. Manager Ronnie Heath was there. Ivel Shields, George Smid, Dan Call, Rick Gentle, Jim Swingle, Greg Fannin, Mark Buchanan, Mike McDonald, Marty Cooper, and Bob Grillo. Some folks we know very well. A lot of those folks don't live around here now. But what they did was, we're not going to be able to show you the picture apparently, but they tried to recreate this picture with
Super
a
fun.
defensive pose. I think they were able to their knees may have creaked or whatever, but they tried to do that. That meant so much that they came back. A couple of several of the members who were prominent who didn't come back weren't able to come back. Tommy Osborne, Steve Morrow,
Yes.
and Jeff Conroy.
Yep.
And of course, some of those people have made their name in sports.
Oh,
here
there
we
they
are.
are.
Thank you so much for finding that picture. There
Look
you
at
see,
that.
they tried to recreate the stands
That's
there.
awesome.
You see on the left, Bob Grillo. Bob, this happened to be on the night when Jackson was playing Vinton County in boys basketball. And Bob received the loudest applause because he's a 75 graduate of Jackson High School. His family was, lived in Jackson
Sure.
for many years. His family member still has many relation here. But Bob, of course, became a professional in Vinton County and is now a probate juvenile judge. And when they announced him, he got a big hand from both sides.
Got it from both. Yeah.
And the Vinton County fans were very courteous. They gave everybody applause, but
Very
especially Bob. Marty Cooper, right next to Bob Grillo, he is a Hall of Fame caliber coach at the college and high school level down south, and he's still coaching. And Mike
So
McDonald,
fun.
who is by Marty, was the leading scorer on that team, and he lives in Piqua now, but he still has local connections as well, and we see him very
Sure.
often as well. He is the older brother of Pat McDonald,
Yes.
who is a school board member. And there in the back, next, the second from the right, or from the left, is Ronnie Heath. That is Randy Heath's brother. He was the manager on that team, and he was thrilled to be able to come back as well. And next to Ronnie is Ivel Shields. Ivel Shields is maybe the only person who can claim that he intercepted 3 Archleaser passes in one game.
Oh, that probably didn't
Football
happen
people
ever.
know who Archleaser
Yes.
is, a star at Ohio State later, and then in
Yep.
the pros as well. So anyway, I know we've run out of time, but I wanted to show
Love
you that
that.
picture.
Well, that is just
if you didn't
such a great
If you
picture.
didn't get a chance to go to that event or read the article in the paper, it remains posted as well. So
Yep.
there you are. I had to add a light touch to all the other stuff I was telling you about.
Very, very good. All right. Well, thank you, Pete, for coming in, hanging out with us this morning. Love the sweater.
Oh, thank you. That
Yes.
was my wife picked that out for Christmas.
Did she?
Yes, she
She
did.
did real good.
Okay.
I saw her in here. I'll tell her if I.
Yeah. Yes.
as
Oh
I'm
no,
walking
it
by.
fits very well and everything. Yeah. and no spaghetti stains on there yet.
Not yet, anyway.
No.
All right. Listen, everyone, stay warm the best you can. If you can hang out in the house today, probably. I mean, if you have to get out, it's okay. But I'd much rather be in the home, wouldn't you?
I think I wouldn't be out if I didn't have to.
Yep. Watch all your friends, neighbors, pets. Make sure they have plenty of water and a safe place to hide out as these cold temperatures continue on. So thank you all so much for tuning in, and we'll be right back here tomorrow. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.